What's up, it's Nogo here, and this is the definitive guide on what armor set you should be going for either PvP or for PvE. So first we can start off with PvP, but we gotta ask the question, should you build for posture, HP, or physical? So first we're gonna talk about either HP or physical, because a lot of people like to say, okay, you wanna build the max amount of physical resistance possible, but should you actually do this? Well, I mean, we've all queued Chime recently, probably, and you fought a lot of mages. Okay, I mean, Saints were just released, you've probably a lot of fought of those Saints were mages who don't BM money back. This is just true. But you've also fought those no attunement players who, are just playing no attunement or just silent heart and are running a lot back. So physical is doing a lot. So you can either build elemental for the mage players that you occasionally queue, or you can build physical for the M1 players, the silent hearts that you also occasionally queue. What if you could build both at the same time? Well, that's literally the health pip. So that's why I think HP is better to build than physical, because if you're fighting a mage player or just a normal sane human being, no matter what, if you have that health, it'll always be working for you rather than having physical and then fighting the mage, or having elemental and fighting a silent heart or no attunement player. So yeah, I would always go ahead and build HP, but again, if you want to build physical, that's fine. This guide will still be helpful to find the best armor pieces for you to max out that physical. Now, for if you should run posture over HP, because there are rings, like for example, on this ring here, or sorry, the better ring would be like this ring right here. I could go and get more HP on this ring, but then less posture. So my philosophy for posture is, so imagine you're in a fight and you get guard broke. And if you just had two more posture, you would not have gotten guard broke. But because you didn't go that 2 posture, you got guard broke and you lost, let's say, 20 or 30 HP. Now imagine if you traded before that guard broke like 10 HP for that 2 posture, and now you didn't get guard broke. In my eyes, you actually ended up saving more HP overall by building up that posture, because you denied that guard break from ever happening in the first place. So obviously every fight this cannot be the case. Some fights you don't get guard broke at all, even if you went that posture or not. So the HP would have been doing more. So it can, it does depend. Like, it does really depend. I personally do like going high posture though to fight, all the guild players. They put a lot of pressure on me. But if you do want to go HP, that's fine too. This guide will still be helpful for you. But me personally, I will be building HP first, but this guide will have both HP and posture maxing alternatives. So as I go down the list, I'm just going to tell you about the armor. For what you want to put in the pips, like I said, I always maximize HP first. So I'm making the green pips, the legendary pips, into HP, then the rare pips into HP. And when I can no longer put the pips into health, I'm then going to put it into physical. That's what I do for all my gear, and I'll explain if there's some different, I'll explain that too, but that's going to be for the pips. Now we're going to actually go down the armor. So for PvP, for the helmet, you can either run Parasol Planter if you want to really deny flame users their damage, using something like Flame of Sin, and you want to take no damage from using it, or just want more health overall, you can use Parasol Planter. But if you do want to get some more posture, you can run a Cannon Helmet. I personally run a Cannon Helmet. For the chest piece, you want to be running Bastion of Enmity. I used to run Delver Duster, and even with the talent save that was on Delver Duster, I actually ended up getting more HP and more posture overall from just running the Bastion of Enmity. It's a really tanky piece. Everyone should be running this. Really good for PvP. Now for the boots, you can either run Star Boots or you can run Imperial Boots. They have the same stats. People typically go the usual 30 HP, 10 Easter on this. Now you can run Mercenary Boots, but the reason why it's not on the list is because the talent it gives, Endurance Runner, makes no sense to get. If you are using these boots for Endurance Runner, that means you don't have Condition Runner, which means you're going to be a Chime build, right? Because every single gank build in the game, you need to have Condition Runner, or else you're doomed. Like, you're doomed. So if you don't have Condition Runner, that means you're a Chime build, and if you're a Chime build, Endurance Runner is literally doing nothing. Like, it's doing nothing for you. So it doesn't make sense to just sacrifice that 3 HP for a useless talent, which is why Mercenary Boots, nobody should be running that. Now for the face mask, there are 4 options here, right? So if you're a blind seer, wear a blindfold, just wear the blindfold. I believe it gives benefits like immune to gaze as well. Blind seer innately does not do this. Blood Feather Mask. So Blood Feather Mask is good. It's just free defense. I mean, it's the only mask in the game that gives basically no downside and then armor at the same time, being the plus 5% shadow armor. That's why you want to go ahead and run Blood Feather Mask. However, the new mask, Drawl of Enmity, if you do run Lose Your Mind like Heretic Suture on your build, and you really want to save that talent, you can run Drawl of Enmity. You can use the talent Lose Your Mind. So if you really need that talent, then you can run Drawl of Enmity. But if you do not run Lose Your Mind, do not go to this face mask. It makes literally no sense to go. Only for Heretic Suture, etc. And for the last match, like I said, if you prioritize HP over posture, you can go the eyeglasses instead. It'll give you 5 HP, but you're going to end up losing some posture. So it is a trade-off you have to take. Like I said, I like posture, so I'm not going to be taking a trade-off. But for the earrings, the only earrings you'd ever want to run and run the earrings, these are the only earrings in the game to give you HP. So why would you not run these earrings? Like, Just run the millenarians, don't run anything else. Now for the scarves, you want to run the whistling period. This scarf is literally, it is so busted. It is broken, it is overpowered, very, very strong. It's very hard to get, but it is the best PvP for chime scarf you can win a game. Yes, you can work in Phys term if you don't have one, however, this is the best list possible. And since that is the case, you're gonna wanna wear the whistling period. It literally just gives you free, it makes you M1 for free. Like I've gotten so many free hits from this scarf, just proccing and I just get free hit. It parries the vent for you. It's just it is a perfect scarf. You should be wearing this. However, if you are a gank build, then you're gonna want to wear the Tyrant Pendant. Do not wear the Whistle Period because this one will save you so much fall damage. You're able to just jump off cliffs and be perfectly fine, take literally not even 1% HP. If that opponent follows you and they don't have this pendant on, they're gonna take many bars of damage and potentially die if they cannot, win past you to stop that fall damage. So Tyrant Pendant, you should be running it on every gank build, and every chime build, you should be running the Whistling Period. Now, what are the rings that you should be always running? Now, the one I think everyone should be running is the Congo's Clutch Ring, even in the ganks for sure, and in chime. That's all chime play, and they say the game just feels better with it. What it does is it just makes you slide a bit faster, and on the slide it just feels better overall. And when you try to go for that uppercut, that extra slide movement is probably going to help you line it up good too. So because of that, a lot of people do like to run the Congas, me included, so I think every build should be running the Congas. The next one is the Ring of Pestilence. If you do not have all the dead gods, which negates all healing, you'd want to run the next best thing, which is the Ring of Pestilence, where on M1, you give them 50% anti-heal. This is really required if they're running a lot. Well, everyone runs a lot of Bloodlust, and some people might spit a lot too. So if that's the case, you're going to want to have that Ring of Pestilence to reduce that healing as much as possible if you do not have all the dead gods. So I recommend every build should also run the Ring of Pestilence. Now for the Deep Fire Ring, this one just makes it so your flames burn faster, which in a way increases your damage overall. It just increases your damage throughout the fight. So if you are a flame user, you should 100% be running this. If not, then obviously do not run the Deep Fire Ring. If you are running a Shattered Katana and a gank, you should be using the Poser's Ring. It is the best ring in the entire, it is just the most overpowered build in the game, just naturally, because you're able to store your damage. So no matter how many it's like a permanent wither. No matter how many times your opponent leaves that fight and runs away, your damage will stay in them literally forever until they go and leave the game itself, essentially removing them from the gank. So because of that, the Poison Ring is incredibly strong for just storing that damage literally infinitely. Like you just infinitely store the damage. So because of that, if you're running Shatter in a gank, obviously a must-have is going to be Poser's Ring. For the Ish's Ring, yes, I used to run this ring, and you've got to understand it is a net negative, right? In a charm environment, it's kind of annoying when fights always go to sudden death, and the way to prevent this is to go the Ishin's Ring. But it is, you're going to take 5% more damage overall. So if you want quick fights, then you'd run the Ishin's Ring, which makes you take 5% more, but both sides are dealing 20% extra as well. Right, so do not run this in a competitive setting. It's literally like book definition a net negative to run. But if you want those faster fights, more fun fights, feel free to run the Nations Ring. Now for the last one is the Ring of Casters. So the Ring of Casters, what it does is lowers your M1 damage by 10%, but increases your monster damage by 10%. So you're gonna want to run this if you are running a low requirement build. So if you're running something like a Warrior Ceremonial, or anything that's kind of like under 50 medium, or you're running a legendary weapon, in which case you probably run it, well, legendary like Curse Winter, Storm's Eye, you're probably running that because you want to make use of those mantras, or you're running a Hero Blade. Your damage comes through your mantras, so you're going to want to go this ring for sure. It just increases your mantra damage, so how do you not go that if you're a mantra based build? Now that you've gone through this list and you figured out what rings you actually want to run, you're also not going to need 4 of them from this list. You're going to need to use filler rings. An example of one is the Rosen's Ring on the right here. What it does is it gives you increased damage for the amount of intelligence you have. Use one of these rings for every attribute except fortitude. For example, on this build, you can see my highest attribute is my intelligence, and I'm only using the Ring of Pestilence and the Congo's Clutch Ring. So I'm going to need 2 filler rings. I obviously will decide for willpower and intelligence. So I went the Rosen's Ring, which gives me more damage based off my int, and then the Akira Ring, which gives me more damage based off my willpower. But now that you know what rings to run, what stats are you actually going to run on the rings? Well, there's 2 options. If you want to maximize your HP, for the legendary rings, you want to go 6 HP and 2 posture. For the rare rings, you want to go 3 HP and 1 posture. But if you want to maximize your posture, you're going to go 3 HP and 3 posture on the legendary rings, and then 2 posture on the rare rings. You see an example here. I personally maximize my posture, so I have 2 posture on my rare rings here, and then I have 3 HP, 3 posture on my legendary rings. And if you'd like to see my stats at a campfire, here you go. I have fully maxed out equipment in every sense, and you see these are what my stats look like. I low HP because I only run 3 vitality, but this is literally the best kit you could run in game right now. Everything here is maximized for the most HP possible, with posture being the priority. Now for PvE, there's a lot of confusion on if you should max out your DVM, meaning your damage versus monsters, or your monster armor. I personally like to maximize my DVM first and then my monster armor because I think it's best to maximize your damage potential so you can kill the enemy as fast as possible, allowing you to get that health pack faster or just kill it faster. But of course, if you want to go monster armor too, this list with the armor needed is going to be the exact same whether you want to go for monster armor or DVM. You want to go the same armor regardless. So for the helmet, you want to go and get a Parasol Planter. It has the most pit possible and it's just better visual hood because you get 7 innate HP. The talent itself is not going to be doing much for you unless you're using the Flame with Syntech. For the chest piece, you want to go a Pathfinder Elite, unless you need to go Warlock's Mantle. Now, Warlock's Mantle comes with a talent Overflowing Down, which normally requires 40 intelligence. However, on some builds, like my own PvE, I cannot afford a 40 intelligence, so it's a lot more worth it for me to just go the Warlock's Mantle. That way I can actually afford this 40 in talent by only using 5 in, because it does have a 5 intelligence requirement. And I wonder what it does. It makes it so when you're maxed out Easter, which I am with Salahar, I'm dealing 15% more damage for literally for free. So it is a really good talent to have, especially on a PvE that's Salahar. But if you already have Overflowing Dam or you're a mage, meaning you don't M1 basically at all, then it's definitely more worth for you to just go a Pathfinder Elite because it does come with 5% innate DVM. Now for the boots, you're gonna want to go Wartrits of Enmity. These are the new best DVM boots. They're just the best. Next, for the face mask, you want to go the Hive Lord's Mask. Now, I know there was the Draw of Enmity, but normally you're not going to really need to save that talent because you do end up getting less DVM using the Draw of Enmity, being the this face mask right here. It does come with innate Lose Your Mind. So yeah, on PvE, that's not really, like, you're not, if I save this talent, like, can I save the talent? Yes, because it does have Lose Your Mind. But what would I replace it with, right? There's nothing I could replace it with that's worth more than that 1% DVM I'm going to end up missing by not just running a Hive Lord Mask. So that's why Hive Lord Mask is what you should be wearing. Now for the earrings, again, just Moonlight earrings, you have the best earrings in the game. And now for the scarf, there are 3 options here. So the Whistling Period is the best for PvE. I personally don't run it because I just don't have a spare. I'm using it on my PvP build currently, but it's just really good. I mean, you just get a free parry frame. If you're just constantly money in, then it's just worth it. But of course, you can also run the War Master Medallion if you want to get, lesser cooldown on your critical, but for most of the time that bell is worth more than that critical, so this also is not really worth it. So you can always just resort to the Confessor's Charm, which will get you the most DVM possible if you do not want to run War Master of the Medallion or Whistling Period, if you have no use for either one. Now for the rings, there are 4 must-have rings in my opinion, depending on your build. So you don't need the Ring of Curses, but if you are a PvE build and you're just in the depths or you're just trying to get some farm, you're going to want to have more spawns, so it kind of just makes sense to just wear a Ring of Curses. But of course, if you're doing like a boss, Diluvian, you do not need this. Dower's Ring, this one I think is just a necessary ring. It's just 5%, it's just essentially 5% DVM just for you for free. Just get it just on the ring itself, so I highly recommend running this ring. However, if you are like a Duke farming build, something like that, or you're just doing Void Sea events, obviously the ring's not going to be doing much for you. But again, if you're like a general PvE build, then it does make sense to go with this. Now, I personally run Ishin Ring on my PvE because, like I said, with my DVM Mythology, if that makes it like what I said about DVM over Monster Armor, if I could kill the mob faster, I get to live faster because I have less mistakes I need to make overall for it to be dead and having to elongate that fight. So I personally run an Ishin Ring. Now, of course, if you are trying to learn a boss, like you're trying to learn to 1v1 Enmity and solo it, I don't recommend running an Ishin Ring right away because obviously mistakes are gonna hurt a lot more. But eventually, if you're really comfortable with doing any PvE, anything, wear an Ishin Ring, just get it done way faster. It just makes a lot of sense. Now, if you are a low weapon build or a mantra related PvE build, like a Diluvian build, where you're just running around spamming mantras, obviously it makes sense to run a Ring of Casters for essentially just 10% more damage for free. And of course, once you get the rings you want, not everyone's gonna want to run a Ring of Curses or an Ishin Ring or a Caster. You gotta fill it with the filler rings. So the filler rings are essentially the rings that scale off your highest investment. Example being a Prophet's Ring. You can see on this build, my filler rings would be for willpower, agility, and strength. But since I already use a Ring of Curses, Ishin's Ring, and Diver's Ring, I can only run one filler ring. That filler ring is going to be the willpower ring, known as the Akira's Ring. So the Akira's Ring just gives me more damage based on my willpower, which is my highest stat. There is no scaling ring for any fortitude. So that's where I would run the Akira Ring. Now, for what pips you want to run on these rings, I recommend just going for the max amount of DVM possible, and then you want to put Monster Armor. Now, of course, you cannot get Monster Armor on rings, but this is just for all advice here for my own advice for what you want to run on your armor and your rings. Go for the max amount of DVM possible first. Even if there's a soft cap, ignore it. then go for monster armor, and then max out in HP, and you should be able to just, like, that's the most that you can get. So out of 2025, this is the best gear that you can earn for both PvP and for PvE. If I got anything wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. Keep in mind, this list can constantly be changed with weekly updates as new armor is introduced to the game. So I'll be sure to update the description or the comments down below. If you think I'm wrong on anything, of course, let me know, but this is what I personally think, and this is what I personally run for the best equipment possible. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.